Beautiful. All right. Well, let's rock and roll then. Hello, and welcome to the Rock and Roll Podcast. I am your host, John Harris. Usually on my right-hand side is my right-hand man, Gabriel, but I can't find him at the moment. But if he comes in the middle of the interview, I guarantee you we'll make sure that he says hello. Today on the Rock and Roll Podcast, we have Dead Lord, and they have a new album called... we recently been reading a lot of Nietzsche quotes about God being dead, so it's a dead Lord, and I was just like, oh, this is cool.
That guy must have read a lot of books.
You must have read a lot of books. Yeah, exactly. Mr. Krim is up on his philosophy. So, boom, Dead Lord. They got a new album called Surrender to the Dead Lord. This is starting to get dark. Released on September 4th via Century Media. Right now I'm being joined by Mr. Krim.
Here I am. I destroyed your reveal, like your presentation, but
it's go okay. Ahead. It happens.
Yeah.
Especially with Swedish people. You guys are so happy to chat. It's fantastic. But anyway, we're here to share some more information about what the band's got going on, what they've been up to, especially during this tumultuous time. Very interesting time. So I guess, we'll go ahead and lead in with that one. But first, I'll formally welcome you to the show. So welcome, Hakeem, to the show.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Great to have you on. Now, going back to that tumultuous time thing, I mean, you guys are rocking it pretty good from what I can tell in the news anyway, as far as I understand. But how has this situation been for you guys? Did it delay the release of the album, or are things kind of somewhat moving as per normal, minus, the obvious lack of shows and tours and stuff?
Well, it kind of helped us in a way because we, us being optimists, we thought we could record the album in February, having it sent to the Germans, the record label that is, and having it being done for a late spring release. So we were kind of losing our hair and just being super stressed out. But then this thing happened and we're like, oh, well, how about the fall release then? So it kind of helped us in being able to do it a bit more less stressful. And I was fairly certain that we wouldn't be able to go out touring even after, I as soon as Corona struck, I was like, it's going to take 2 years, like the Spanish flu, 2 years minimum. But, it's been nice to just be able to drink beer and not having to deal with real things and just having it everyone's life is at pause. So, yeah, it's been nice. Frustrating, but nice.
It's a nice kind of frustrating. It's a different kind of stress. It sounds like the stress of recording would have abated you guys significantly more than the stress of a global pandemic.
I mean, it's a pandemic. It sucks. Everything is closed. Nothing really works. Yada yada yada. But it isn't Ebola. I mean, it isn't that bad. The next virus, I'm sure, will be way, way worse. Imagine if HIV was airborne. That would be some seriously freaky stuff. But this is okay, well, some people die. Some people hardly notice it. I mean, it's kind of all right, isn't it?
I don't know. I just imagine somebody listening in right now whose grandmother just died from coronavirus and they're emotionally distraught. But, as they say, evil always wins, and you gotta. Yeah.
Well, actually, Adam had the bug. Our drummer. He was like, "Oh, I got the old Rona." But he's young and healthy and optimistic, so he was fine after a few weeks. But it's spooky, and would have been nicer if everything was just like it was before. But now it is what it is.
It is. Yeah. Well, it's good to hear that he is recovered and, he's seen the dark end of the rainbow and he knows he's had the letter from Allen Street. So he's good. He could be the authority, on what's going on here.
I think you went through pretty much all the titles now.
Almost. The only one I didn't do is the one in Swedish, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to try that one.
No, that's for the better, I guess.
It probably is. Actually, it's just Letter from Allen Street with Swedish lyrics. So actually, that's kind of cool. Bonus track. How come only one track on the album in Swedish instead of maybe an entire, second record where the entire thing is in Swedish, kind of like what Opeth did.
You want the honest answer or like the designed answer?
You can give me the record company answer, and then you can give me your answer.
No one really likes us here in Sweden. I mean, we started out with a German label. We've been touring Germany a lot and mainland Europe. And like, it's so weird being a Swedish band, singing songs in English and touring for a Swedish audience, because then you go like, here's my best attempt at English. And then in between the songs, you're like, hey, hur mår du? Like Swedish. It's awkward. So I'm just happy that we haven't had to do that too much. I love playing in Sweden. I think it's, it's convenient. But it's like we don't have the same sort of rock scene. And it's just like in Germany, we could tour for, say, just like a short 2-week tour. And it's just like it pays and it's great. And people show up because people like rock. In Sweden, you have to tour on Fridays and Saturdays. So if you want to do the same amount of touring, you have to do like months of touring because people don't do anything in the weekdays because they're boring Swedes.
Everything that I think of when I think of Sweden, aside from 6-foot-tall blonde people in bikinis everywhere having little portable barbecues, lighting the trees on fire, and meatballs is just boring. Just actually, true story. Soilwork's latest album, I had Bjorn on, and I was chatting with him. I'm like, what is this album about? And he said, this is going to sound really bad, but it's just about like Swedish suburbia. And I'm like, really? Like you're that angry about living in the burbs? Like, come on. But I guess it's a thing.
There's this thing like with Swedish suburbia, like pretty much in all of the world now. It's racism is creeping in, and that sort of narrow-mindedness is really, really showing. I'm sure that's what he touched on with the song there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Now, I guess going back to the album Surrender, tell us about this, because the 3 tracks that have been released, including Eating a Sandwich in the Woods, are just a bunch of incredibly melodic bangers. That's kind of my note on it. Is I love the dueling guitars. I love the vocals. Everything about it is just, it's a banger of a track. I want to bang my head to it, and it's also melodic, so I kind of get lost in it a little bit. Especially Evil Always Wins. I find it a little bit heavier as well. Of course, it's called Evil. It's got to be heavy.
Yeah. Thank you, Ronnie James Dio.
That's right. But I guess, take us through this record, if we want to go maybe track by track on at least the singles that were released, is like, okay, out of the entire record, how come these tracks? How come Distance Over Time, Evil Always Wins, and then the latest one that just got released the other day was Messin Up, where somebody's really blown a fuse in the lyric video.
Yeah, that's me. Thing is, like, we have sort of heavier songs on the album. A lot of them are pretty, hard rock, heavy metal, that sort of territory. But the singles, you need the singles to be a bit more poppy or, like radio friendly or, snappy. So the first one was Distance Over Time. And it's about amphetamines. It's about speed. And I thought, like, whoa, that's such a boring thing. Writing a song about drugs, if you're a rock band, it's been done so many times. But I'm into physics. And I thought maybe we could make it a bit smarter than just singing about speed. How about the equation of speed, distance over time? That way, maybe my dad won't really get it right away.
I didn't even get it.
No, I mean, come on. It's pretty nifty, right?
It's inventive. I mean, going back to the whole boring Swede thing, you were like, man, how could we make this, a college thesis? Well, let's do it, baby.
Yeah, and also that's, in America, especially in the USA, it's like censorship is a thing. Like if you sing fuck, well, you can't play that song on the radio, which is to me like, it's so pointless, because the real dangerous ideas, like convincing someone to kill someone in a song, that could be done without using fuck or whatever curse word. So it's just like, I mean, all right. So in the same sense of like trying to, convey your ideas without being plumb or being stupid, you could write a song about drugs and like your experience with them. It's not like I'm not glorifying drugs. I mean, I like my speed every now and then, but writing a song that is distance over time instead of speed is kind of, it's kind of playful, and it just avoids that sort of like the people who listen to it that aren't into it or actually, listen to the full lyrics, just hear they see what the title is, they won't really get it. If the song would have been called Speed, people would have maybe raised an eyebrow. So that way you can find your way into just letting all the kids know that that's a thing and you should maybe watch out, but it's okay.
Well, I guess my question then is I guess at the basic level, what was the point of writing a song about speed? But I mean, I guess on maybe a less on a nicer question level, what were you looking to, I don't know, express with regard to speed in the song?
So thing is, like, I'm really happy that I didn't start doing drugs when I was younger. Than I think I was maybe 30 when I, got myself into trying drugs. Apart from alcohol is probably the worst drug, and I started doing that really early. But people have this sort of idea that there's alcohol and there's drugs, and they're like two different things. So there's one thing, and then there's all these other things that's just combined to one thing, and that's dangerous because I grew up with all of my like my parents and all the people with authority. They were telling me like, watch out for this and this, like watch out for drugs. So they crammed all the drugs into one sort of thing. And then when you actually try it and when you look at the world and you see like, oh, this is the same thing that's being prescribed to this person. Okay, this is that. And that's a completely different thing. You have to you kind of understand that it's not like that. Drugs aren't the enemy. It's people being irresponsible with their use of drugs that is the enemy. And that song is really about a friend of mine who I mentioned her in the song, Krista. We were standing in the bar and I asked a friend like, hey, do you know anyone who has some speed? Would be nice because I'm feeling a bit, tired. And she was like, I really thought you were smarter than that. And she's standing with a glass of wine in her hand, super drunk. And she's cursing at me for being like asking for speed. And I'm not one of those people who drink too much and puke all over the place or take too much drugs and don't know how to behave. I just I try to do it moderately. And it's been working out fairly all right. But she was like, she had this sort of demonization of the thing just because of the sole fact that it was illegal. And that made me really, there's no way for me to tell her how I feel about it, because she has her way of just knowing that it's the devil. And that's basically what the song is about. And I'm saying I wouldn't consider it a serious crime. It's just distance over time. But it's not healthy. It's terrible. It's not wise. But I mean, you have to balance things in life. And to me, it's enjoyable and it's fun. But my girlfriend doesn't really like me doing speed if we're gonna have sex, because it doesn't really work out then.
It goes a little faster, eh?
No, it doesn't get hard.
Oh, geez, Louise, speed dick.
Yeah, so I'm not doing it that much nowadays. But it's a thing. To be, it's worse to just demonize things and spread lies about them than to actually, understand what they are. I wouldn't drink 5 cups of coffee if I was trying to sleep. It's the same thing. Like if you're gonna try to make your life work out and be responsible and do things and get shit done, don't smoke weed. Don't turn into this lazy sort of, I had a weed smoking period in my life and I got nothing done for half a year. And then one day I was like, no, this is not fun. I'm not going to do this. It makes me lazy. And if you can have that sort of reflection on it and understand where you're heading, that's fine. But I think all drugs should be decriminalized, because I don't think the state should tell you what your state of mind should be like. Yeah. So that's the first thought.
Well, and that is something that we're doing in Canada, actually. We're having that conversation.
Which is great.
Yeah, because we already decriminalized marijuana.
And mushrooms is next, right?
I believe so. I haven't seen the schedule, but I know that we're having this big conversation about that the criminalization of drugs is not helping.
I mean, it's illegal, like the war on drugs in the US. It's illegal, and it's been for ages. Does it work? No. Drugs is winning the war on drugs. So the only thing that happens from making it, like from putting people in jail, is that you destroy people's lives. People will do drugs anyways. Just let them have that sort of thing. In Portugal, they tried it, and it really helped their country to just decriminalize it. And of course, like people who hear me talking about these things like this, they'll be like, oh, he's just a drug addict. But it's not. That's not what it's about. Like, don't view them as criminals. View them as people who needed something in life at a time, and just let them have it.
Well, that sounds very deep and philosophical.
Starting off easy.
Somebody may have touched a little bit of enlightenment. You sound a little more conscious than some people. Now, speaking of surrendering into the light, is this kind of a concept that maybe permeates throughout the record, kind of like taking a stance on, hey, don't judge people because you don't have their perspective? Or is this like a one-time thing with just distance over time?
A lot of the songs on the album, they're like, I like, issues that I can't really do anything about. That's what inspires me to write songs. So authority is me. I've always had a tough time with people who don't question things. And a lot of people seem to never question authority because it's authority, it's the law, that's a border, yeah, it's real. You have to it's because it's the law, you have to like accept it. And that's really dangerous in my mind, because we all decide as a community or a country or whatever on what laws are to be passed. And as soon as you just accept them for what they are, that's when you become a sort of part of the problem instead of actually, because laws are they're like a dynamic thing. They change with different governments and whatever. So, with authority, that song, I try to write that thing instead of preaching, which is kind of a boring way of writing songs. Some bands do it really great. Like Rage Against the Machine, they preach really good. But I think it's more fun to write the song from the viewpoint of the oppressor or like the villain, because that leaves more for the listener to like think about and to engage in, like, and put their own sort of spin into.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Something I've always said, Hakeem, is just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right.
No, we tried that in the 40s in Europe.
You did? What happened?
I don't know. I think, this guy with a mustache.
Between like 1938 and 1944, 45? Yeah, weird.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It couldn't have happened. People said to themselves, it's 1938 in Germany. It can't happen.
No.
Same thing happening down with our neighbor.
Yep.
It's 2020. How could it happen? I don't know.
Yeah, fascism. It's pretty full-on fascism right now.
Yeah. Groovy. Now, aside from going like, into each individual track, if you would even want to do such a thing, I don't know how really interesting that is, but that pretty much concludes my questions. Was there anything else, that we should be chatting about? I've got the 3 singles. They're bangers. You guys are doing something really cool. We had a really good chat over if you were to measure the vomit of somebody drinking too much with the distance over time, you would get the speed of the vomit before it hits the ground, and you could get the trajectory. And there's a difference between prediction and prophecy. Big difference. So, one is math and the other is.
Yep.
I don't know.
You're philosophical, right?
Very philosophical, baby. Yeah, it was great. Cool. So that concludes my questions, Hakeem. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about?
No, I just if there's people listening, I just want to tell them to maybe be nice to one each other. Be nice and have fun and drink beer and maybe don't drink beer. Do whatever you want. Listen to music. Have fun. That sort of thing. Yeah, just to compensate for my sort of super political sort of. Yeah, just want to make sure everyone understands that I'm a nice guy.
You seem like a nice guy to me.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'll go ahead and hit stop.